Bienvenue chez Examist, votre partenaire de confiance pour réussir vos certifications. Nous proposons des supports d'études complets, en ligne et hors ligne. Et nous sommes là pour vous guider pas à chaque étape. Des guides PDF détaillés aux exercices pratiques bien structurés. Toutes les questions essentielles sont soigneusement couvertes pour vous donner toutes les chances de réussir. Vous aurez toujours les bonnes ressources à portée de main. Téléchargez les PDFs. Faites des tests et connectez-vous à notre équipe d'assistance experte. Avec la pratique interactive en ligne. Entraînez-vous et quand vous voulez. À votre rythme. Nos PDFs prêts pour l'examen sont soigneusement élaborés et régulièrement mis à jour. Des milliers d'apprenants certifiés font confiance à notre qualité et à notre sérieux. Des professionnels qualifiés sont disponibles pour répondre à vos questions. Commencez dès aujourd'hui et donnez à votre préparation l'avantage décisif avec Examist. Visitez Examist.com dès maintenant. Examist. Votre parcours vers le succès commence ici.
Question 1. What are the primary functions of the UiPath Integration Service? Option A. Enables automation with a library of connectors. Manages connections easily with standardized authentication. Kicks off automations with server-side triggers or events. Provides curated activities and events. Simplifies automation design. Option B. Automates UI design. Manages API connections. Provides limited activities and events. Simplifies automation design. Option C. Enables automation with API integration. Manages connections with user-provided authentication. Kicks off automations based on application-specific triggers. Simplifies automation design with the help of third-party libraries. Option D. Enables automation with UI components. Manages API keys. Kicks off automations with client-side triggers. Provides curated events. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option A. Enables automation with a library of connectors. Manages connections easily with standardized authentication. Kicks off automations with server-side triggers or events. Provides curated activities and events. Simplifies automation design. Question 2. What happens when closing a remote debugging connection while a debugging execution is in progress? Option A. The remote robot continues the execution after Studio closes the connection. Option B. Debugging execution ends in exception. Then the connection is closed. Option C. Debugging execution stops gracefully. Then the connection is closed. Option D. It is not possible to close the connection while debugging is in progress. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option D. It is not possible to close the connection while debugging is in progress. Question 3. Where is the transaction number incremented in the RE framework? Option A. Only in the retry current transaction. XAML workflow. Option B. Only in the set transaction status. XAML workflow. Option C. In the new transaction transition. Option D. In the retry current transaction. XAML workflow and in the set transaction status. XAML workflow. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option D. In the retry current transaction. XAML workflow and in the set transaction status. XAML workflow. Question 4. Which logging level includes the following information by default? 1. Execution started log entry, generated every time a process is started. 2. Execution ended log entry, generated every time a process is finalized. 3. Transaction started log entry, generated every time a transaction item is obtained by the robot from orchestrator. 4. Transaction ended log entry, generated every time the robot sets the transaction status to either success or failed. 5. Activity information log entry, generated every time an activity is started, faltered or finished inside a workflow. 6. Arguments and variables information log entry, show values of the variables and arguments that are used. Option A, verbose. Option B, trace. Option C, critical. Option D, information. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A, verbose. Question 5. How would you define a linear process in UiPath? Option A. The steps of the process refer to the execution of steps in a sequential manner, where each subsequent step depends on the successful completion of the previous step. Option B. The steps of the process are performed multiple times, but each time different data items are used. Option C. The steps of the process repeat multiple times over different data items. However, the automation design is such that each repeatable part processes independently. Option D. The process steps are performed only once. If the need is to process additional data, then the automation must execute again. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D. The process steps are performed only once. If the need is to process additional data, then the automation must execute again. Question 6. A developer is building a process that needs to click an element which requires a mouse hover to become visible. However, the element does not appear with the default click setting. The input method for the click activity is sendWindowMessage. Which property should the developer configure to be able to click the element? Option A. The developer should change the input method to simulate and the cursor motion type to instant. Option B. The developer should change the input method to hardware events and the cursor motion type to smooth. Option C. The property alter if disabled should be set to false. Option D. The property alter if disabled should be set to true. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B. The developer should change the input method to hardware events and the cursor motion type to smooth. Question 7. A developer wants to create an automation in which the input from the user and predefined conditions determine the transition between stages. In UiPath Studio, which is the recommended type of workflow that meets the requirement? Option A. Flowchart. Option B. Workflow. Option C. State machine. Option D. Global exception handler. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C, state machine. Question 8. A developer configured the properties for a click activity is shown below. What happens if the activity cannot find its target at runtime? Option A. An exception is thrown after 10 milliseconds. Option B. An exception is thrown after 10 seconds. Option C. The next activity is executed after 10 seconds. Option D. The next activity is executed after 10 milliseconds. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C. The next activity is executed after 10 seconds. Question 9. What is the default priority value for the job priority field in UiPath Orchestrator when starting a job? Manually. Option A. Inherited. Option B. Medium. Option C. High. Option D. Low. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A, inherited. Question 10. Consider testing a workflow that computes the sum of two numbers having the data-driven test data from the Excel file below. Expanding the functionality of the workflow to compute the sum of three numbers. The data needs to be updated as well to accommodate the new scenario. What are steps to do that? Option A. Click right on the test case and select Update Test Data. Option B. Click right on the test case and select Add Test Data. Option C. Click right on the test case and select Refresh Test Data. Option D. Click right on the test case and select Remove Test Data. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option A. Click right on the test case and select Update Test Data. Question 11. Data from an Excel file is read into a data table named DT Employee. As displayed in the following graphic, a developer needs to filter the data table to obtain all rows representing employees from the finance and IT departments with a salary under 30,000. Which expression yields the desired outcomes? Option A. DT Employee. Select, quote, department, equals, it, and department, equals, finance, and salary, less than 30,000. Option B. DT Employee. Select, quote, department, equals, ITOR, department, equals, finance, OR, salary, less than 30,000. Option C. DT Employee. Select, quote, department, equals, it, OR, department, equals, finance, and salary, less than 30,000. Option D. DT Employee. Select, quote, department, equals, it, OR, department, equals, finance, and salary, less than 30,000. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option D. DT Employee. Select, quote, department, equals, it, OR, department, equals, finance, and salary, less than 30,000. Question 12. A developer is building an automation that must interact with a destination remote computer reached by jumping through multiple RDP connections. As described by the following scenario. The robot is installed on machine A, which connects through RDP to machine B. From machine B another RDP connection is opened to machine C, where the automation must be performed. Which of the following scenarios is appropriate for the developer who wants to use UI automation? Activities. Option A. UI automation can be used and the following are prerequisites. Machine A. Install RDP extension. Machine B. Install remote runtime. MSI. Machine C. Install remote runtime. MSI. Option B. UI automation can be used and the following are prerequisites. Machine A. Install RDP extension. Machine B. Install RDP extension and remote runtime. MSI. Machine C. Install remote runtime. MSI. Option C. UI automation can be used and the following are prerequisites. Machine A. No requirement. Machine B. No requirement. Machine C. Install remote runtime. MSI. Option D. UI automation can be used and the following are prerequisites. Machine A. Install RDP extension. Machine B. No requirement. Machine C. Install remote runtime. MSI. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option B. UI automation can be used and the following are prerequisites. Machine A. Install RDP extension. Machine B. Install RDP extension and remote runtime. MSI. Machine C. Install remote runtime. MSI. Question 13. How does UiPath handle different dependency versions for multiple running processes that run at the same time? Option A. Each running process automatically adapts to the available dependency version. Option B. Each running process uses its own required version of the dependency. Option C. All running processes use the latest version of the dependency available. Option D. Running processes use the earliest compatible dependency version. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B. Each running process uses its own required version of the dependency. Question 14. In order for a developer to utilize the default RE framework without relying on orchestrator queues, what is the essential prerequisite to ensure that the project does not interact with orchestrator? Option A. Remove the get transaction data state from the main state machine. Remove the orchestrator queue name setting from config XLSX and change the variable type. Option B. Eliminate the get transaction data state from the main state machine. Exclude the get transaction item activity from the project and change the variable type. Option C. Exclude the get transaction item activity from the project. Eliminate the 3 set transaction status activities from the set transaction status workflow and change the variable type. Option D. Omit the orchestrator queue name setting from the config XLSX file. Exclude the 3 set transaction status activities from the set transaction status workflow and change the variable type. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C. Exclude the get transaction item activity from the project. Eliminate the 3 set transaction status activities from the set transaction status workflow and change the variable type. Question 15. Which of the following describes the correct hierarchy of the elements in the object repository tree? Structure. Option A. Version. Application. Screen. UI element. Option B. Application. Version. Screen. UI element. Option C. Application. Screen. UI element. Version. Option D. Screen. Application. Version. UI element. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B. Application, version, screen, UI element. Question 16. A developer wants to add items to a list of strings using the invoke method activity. The list is declared as follows. The invoke method activity has the following properties. The parameters property is as follows. Based on the information shown in the exhibits, what is the outcome of the invoke method activity? Option A. An exception will be thrown. Option B. Colors will contain an item with the value yellow. Option C. Colors will contain an item with an empty value. Option D. Colors will contain an item with the value colors yellow. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A. An exception will be thrown. Question 17. What is the default polling interval set for an event trigger? Option A. 1 minute. Option B. 5 minutes. Option C. 10 minutes. Option D. 15 minutes. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B. 5 minutes. Question 18. When should the Show Elements button be used in the computer vision wizard? Option A. Highlighting all UI elements that have been identified by the computer vision analysis. Option B. Displaying a list of all available UI elements and their properties. Option C. Activating a real-time view of the target app's UI during automation. Option D. Filtering out specific UI elements from being processed by the computer vision engine. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A. highlighting all UI elements that have been identified by the computer vision analysis. Question 19. In a UiPath state machine workflow, which section of state activity is used to specify conditional, triggers logic and multiple outgoing transitions in a state machine? Option A, entry. Option B, transitions. Option C, triggers. Option D, exit. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B, transitions. Question 20. In a UiPath RE framework project, what is the primary purpose of using custom log fields? Option A, to maintain contextual insights within log messages, including secure details like credentials. Option B, to add specific contextual information to log messages that are relevant to the automation process. Option C, to modify the representation of logged contextual data as it is displayed in the orchestrator. Option D, to generate extra variables alongside log messages, enhancing workflow understanding. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B, to add specific contextual information to log messages that are relevant to the automation process. Question 21. What method can be used to change the index of an existing column in a data table? Option A, move at. Option B, set ordinal. Option C, set column index. Option D, set index. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B, set ordinal. Question 22. A developer is building a process that types data into input fields using the hardware events input method. Which property of the type into activity should be modified to reduce the pace at which the input string characters are typed into the fields? Option A, delay before. Option B, delay between keys. Option C, delay after. Option D, alter disabled element. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B, delay between keys. Question 23. While working in an RPA testing project, you encountered the following activity in one of the workflows included in the project. What action can you perform in your mocked file to replace the functionality of the message box with a log message during mock testing? Option A, synchronize mock. Option B, create mock workflow. Option C, surround activity with mock. Option D, remove mock activity. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C, surround activity with mock. Question 24. A developer is building an automation which types text into a text file. The activity project settings .ui automation modern activities are set as follows. The developer has configured the properties of a type into activity as follows. What is the behavior of the type into activity when executing the workflow? Option A. The activity will use only properties set in activity project settings. Option B. The activity will remove multi-line in run mode and a single line in debug mode. Option C. The activity will remove a single line in run mode and in debug mode. Option D. The activity will remove a single line in run mode and multi-line in debug mode. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C. The activity will remove a single line in run mode and in debug mode. Question 25. What do the percentages from the Test Explorer panel represent? Option A. % of test data run. Option B. Correctness of the code %. Option C. Coverage %. Option D. Passing %. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C, coverage percent. Question 26. To retrieve all Outlook emails with the word UiPath in the subject, which filtering property and filter schema should a developer use? Option A. Property. Filter by message ID schema. At SQL equals on. Schemas. HTTP mail. Subject, like, UiPath percent. Option B. Property. Filter schema. At SQL equals on. Schemas. HTTP mail. Subject, like, UiPath percent. Option C. Property. Filter schema. At SQL equals on. Schemas. HTTP mail. Subject, like, percent UiPath percent. Option D. Property. Filter by message ID schema. At SQL equals on. Schemas. HTTP mail. Subject, like, percent UiPath percent. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C. Property. Filter schema. At SQL equals on. Schemas. HTTP mail. Subject, like, percent UiPath percent. Question 27. Given the following list of arguments and the following code, what is the value that will be displayed in the output panel at the end of the sequence below? Option A. 1. Option B. 2. Option C. 7. Option D. 9. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D, 9. Question 28. What is the use of job priorities in unattended automations within UiPath Orchestrator? Option A. To determine machine resource allocation among processes. Option B. To sort and organize tasks within a folder. Option C. To create job dependencies that must be completed before new job execution. Option D. To determine which processes should be executed first when dealing with multiple jobs. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D. To determine which processes should be executed first when dealing with multiple jobs. Question 29. Which command in the UiPath installation folder configures the UiPath remote debugging agent utility on a Windows robot to accept remote debugging requests from Studio? Option A. UiPath remote debugging agent X start port password verbose. Option B. UiPath remote debugging agent X enable port password verbose. Option C. UiPath remote debugging agent X enable port username password verbose. Option D. .NET UiPath remote debugging agent DLL enable port password verbose. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B. UiPath remote debugging agent X enable port password verbose. Question 30. When installing UiPath Studio, which of the following actions require administrator privileges? Option A. Administrator privileges are not required for installing UiPath Studio. Option B. Administrator privileges are required for installing the robot in both service mode and user mode. Option C. Administrator privileges are required for installing the robot in user mode. Option D. Administrator privileges are required for installing the robot in service mode. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D. Administrator privileges are required for installing the robot in service mode. Question 31. Where in the RE framework template project is the set transaction status XAML invoked? Option A. In the finally section of the try-catch activity in the end process state. Option B. In the try section of the try-catch activity in the end process state. Option C. In the try and catches sections of the try-catch activity in the process transaction state. Option D. In the try section of the try-catch activity in the process transaction state. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C. In the try and catches sections of the try-catch activity in the process transaction state. Question 32. What is a prerequisite for running functional test cases in RE framework? Option A. Invoke process XAML file. Option B. Invoke set transaction status XAML file. Option C. Invoke main XAML file. Option D. Invoke init all settings XAML file. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D. Invoke init all settings XAML file. Question 33. The following table is stored in a variable called dt. What will the value of the qty variable be after executing the assign activity? Option A. 5. Option B. 10. Option C. 80. Option D. Null. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B. 10. Question 34. What is the purpose of the interval filter in the orchestrator's monitoring page? Option A. It enables you to sort the displayed data based on job priorities. Option B. It allows you to choose between background and foreground processes for the displayed data. Option C. It allows you to allocate licenses per machine for the displayed data. Option D. It allows you to control the granularity of the displayed data and check the health of your system in either the last day or the last hour. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D. It allows you to control the granularity of the displayed data and check the health of your system in either the last day or the last hour. Question 35. A developer implemented a process using the Robotic Enterprise Framework and an orchestrator queue. The max retry number from the config xlsx file is set to 1, and the max hash of retries from the queue settings from orchestrator is set to 2. At runtime, the first transaction item throws a business exception. How many times will the transaction be retried? Option A. The transaction will not be retried. Option B. The transaction will be retried only one time. Option C. The transaction will be retried 2 times. Option D. The transaction will be retried multiple times until it will be processed successfully. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A. The transaction will not be retried. Question 36. What role do triggers play in the UiPath integration service? Option A. Provide a mechanism for subscribing to specific events from third-party applications, automatically starting processes in orchestrator. Option B. Assist in the creation of automation projects by providing event-based activities. Option C. Manage connections between UiPath Studio and third-party applications. Option D. Provide a mechanism for starting processes on a scheduled basis from orchestrator. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A. Provide a mechanism for subscribing to specific events from third-party applications, automatically starting processes in orchestrator. Question 37. Which of the following options is correct about a state machine layout? Option A. Can have only one initial state and multiple final states. Option B. can have only one initial state and only one final state. Option C, can have multiple initial states and multiple final states. Option D, can have multiple initial states and only one final state. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A, can have only one initial state and multiple final states. Question 38. A developer needs to create a repetitive process in the RE framework. Following the best practices, which action S should be performed to defend against potential robot crashes such as out of memory? Option A, build a script that compares current CPU usage values to a threshold and clears data as needed. Option B, after every transaction, clear the transaction data, close the applications, and reopen the applications. Option C, add a clear collection activity at the beginning of the process. XAML workflow. Option D, all invoke workflow file activities from the main XAML file should be marked with the isolated option. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D, all invoke workflow file activities from the main XAML file should be marked with the isolated option. Question 39. Which of the following demonstrates the correct syntax for using the VB.NET if operator? Option A, if condition 1, value if true, else if value if false. Option B, value if true if condition 1 else value if false. Option C, if condition 1 then value if true else value if false. Option D, if condition 1, value if true, value if false. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D, if condition 1, value if true, value if false. Question 40. A developer creates a process that uses data from multiple sources and uploads it to an orchestrator. Q. The data originates from emails in different email inboxes and needs to be processed in the same order in which the email was received. To ensure the queue items are processed in the correct order, which property of the add queue item activity should be used? Option A, postpone. Option B, reference. Option C, item information. Option D, deadline. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B, reference.